So my topic, as you can see on the big screens, is absorbing yourself in ultimate love. And I'm going to make an assumption that maybe we don't do that as often as we can. And sometimes we may not do that unless we don't feel loved. And then we say, well, I'm going to get it. I better give it to myself, right? But what if that was part of our daily routine, like washing your face, brushing your teeth, giving yourself some abundant love, absorbing yourself in ultimate love? And even though this ultimate love is the presence of God, there's also an aspect of the individual which it gets to be revealed to you from the inside out. Because a lot of our focus is outward, and it's time for us to really, bless you, really be able to give ourselves not only a hug, maybe even a massage, maybe massaging the heart from a ooh that's not visible, right? And so there's a practice that we have. There are several practices that we have in New Thought. And the reason that practitioners are called practitioners is because they have the opportunity, the mission, and the need to absorb themselves and heal themselves through recognizing the creative power of mind and the availability of good. Regardless of what we may see on the TV or whatever we're looking at, we may forget that good is available. It is always available. And so I think about the aims that we have in our lives, and perhaps they're on a surface level, perhaps they're on a level of physical needs. They may even be on the level of emotional needs, mental needs, but spiritual needs to really use first place, right? Because the Spirit informs us of what it is that is essential for us, like beyond the body, because the Spirit is an eternal relationship. And so whatever, I'm going to say I'm not going to say you, whatever I thought was important is not more important than self-care. Ask me how I know. Because when all of your energies are going out and you're not giving some of that energy in, it's going to have an impact on the out, right? Not to mention what it does to your body temple, what it does to your emotional body that needs to receive and not just give, right? And so what you thought was important is not more important than self-care, because self-care must be the priority before approaching any being. I'm not going to even say a person. You know, energetically, four-legged beings and other-legged beings are sensitive to energy. And so you can tell, like when a dog sniffs or when a dog barks, they could just be, you know, a big watchdog. But generally, after a while, they'll get to feel your energy and see what energy that they're dealing with, right? And that's true for other things, birds and other animals that we encounter in our daily lives. But energy can be requalified, but not destroyed, right? Because energy is eternal. And so we may have this particular energy at this time, but that can shift. And so the transformation can be internally caused or externally caused, but there is always going to be some kind of evolution, some kind of growth. And, you know, if we have an energy that is not cool, not loving, that too is contagious, right? You know, when we were kids, we talked about people having the cooties, right? So nobody wants to catch a cootie, right? No, we want to leave that round of pain. We want to leave the discomfort, right? So to become a spiritual practitioner of increased capacity is to become greater or enhanced. And obviously the greater is not an outside in job. The greater is an inside out job. So I'm going to call it healing, because healed means to reveal wholeness. How do we do that? We use spiritual tools. We use spiritual principles. Refusing to allow negative thoughts to control our consciousness. I feel like we need to say that together. Refusing to allow negative thoughts to control our consciousness. It's kind of insidious, you know? And even when we're looking at the television or whatever we're looking at and we start to feel some kind of way, that outer becomes part of our inner processing. And so this is why we need to become a spiritual practitioner of increased capacity, so that we can be greater enhanced about that love energy, that love intelligence. Love is the smartest thing we got in terms of intelligence. I don't care what AI does, right? So I'm going to call this healing a way for us to reveal wholeness. And I don't just mean the body. I mean every dimension. And so how do we do that? We use the spiritual tools. We use the spiritual principles, right? And we also endeavor to greet the divinity in everyone. Ooh, y'all got quiet. I'm not saying it's easy, right? But the willingness to greet the divinity in someone may actually wake up their divinity. They may have forgotten that they have that divinity until you acknowledge it. That it needs to call forth, and perhaps you are the instrument to do that. Now, I'm not trying to make it heavy. Oh my God, now I got to take care of somebody else's consciousness. It's enough for me to deal with my own consciousness. But you know what? It's just like COVID. If you're in the room with them, you might catch it. So, believing in divine guidance, that everything in our lives is controlled by love, harmony, and peace, that everything we do prospers, is something to keep in mind. May I have the first slide, please? Absorbing yourself in ultimate love. Can you imagine that? Like, what would that look like? Would you take a long bath instead of a shower, right? Would you eat healthier? Would you work on sleeping better? Sleeping with quality sleep? Would you work on what it means to treat yourself as the most valuable possession that you own? Because you are, right? Somebody say, oh, it's my kids, they're the most important thing to me. Well, how did they get here, right? They got here by means of you, whether you birthed them or adopted them or whatever the process was. This is part, an aspect of your life that has been something that was prompted by your actions, your activity. Let's go to the next slide, please. Through practice, your aims become transformed. You generate a heartfelt intention to leave the round of pain, at which point you become a spiritual practitioner of increased capacity. And that's from the Dalai Lama in the September Book of the Month. How to see yourself as you really are. Please leave that up for a minute. So I want to talk about practice. Now, we talk about spiritual practices, and some of you may think that that's reserved for people who have something behind their name or something in front of their name like Rev or RSVP or whatever. But the practice is not simply the spiritual practice, but it's the mental practice that happens as you are doing your spiritual practice. You have a mental intention, like when you're first learning how to do a treatment, which is a spiritual mind treatment, which is affirmative prayer for those of you not familiar with this language. You set an intention for what you want in your life. You set an intention for what you want to shift in your life. You set an intention for how you want to feel in your life, in your body of affairs, in your relationships, right? In your creativity, in your productivity. And so with that in mind, we must call upon the divine qualities that live within us, expecting them to be revealed. Not hoping that God will be creativity through me. It's already in there. And activating it becomes an act of surrender. Ask me how I know. I have no idea, and you can appreciate this, JD, I'm sure. I have no idea what I'm going to get when I decide I'm looking for something to express. I have no idea, and it comes easily and effortlessly with the greater degree of trust that I have that it's there, not even knowing what it is. And so what I do know is that any kind of pain that I'm feeling in my life, I want to leave it behind me. I do not want to see that pain reappear in my life. I do not want to see that pain showing up in my body temple as a dis-ease. I do not want to see that pain showing up in an emotional relationship in my life. I do not want to see that pain. So I'm willing to be a part of that healing process. I'm willing to be that person who knows something greater about the nature of everything because I have an understanding about the nature of God. May I have the next slide, please? The practice of morality involves restraining overtly poor behavior of body, speech, and mind. Now, poor behavior of the body, we may say, well, that's not my fault, right? It's not my fault I can't see better. It's not my fault I can't walk better. It's not my fault, that I can't lift things or I can't, whatever that story is that you're telling yourself. There's a cause for every reaction, a cause for every effect, right? So if I have not been feeding myself healthy things, my stomach might hurt, right? If I have not been exercising my body, my flab will grow, right? Right? If I have not been emotionally tending to myself, there is a crust, a barrier that gets built up, right? And we don't even recognize it because we may be so stuck on protecting ourselves from the pain that we don't know that we're hardening ourselves in the process as a way to protect ourselves from feeling any more pain. Woo! Just breathe. We have to watch the mind. We have to watch the mind because it impacts the body. We have to watch the mind because whatever we're thinking about, we'll speak it into being. We'll speak it into our experience. We'll speak it into our reality. And I'm using quotes, air quotes for reality because I'm talking about a small r, not the big R, because the big R, reality is God. May I have the next slide, please? Love is an essence, an atmosphere which defies analysis, as does life itself, from Ernest Holmes' The Science of Mind. Love is an essence. I'm going to call it oxygen. Can you live without love? A lot of people not answering. Can I? I mean, I ain't had love and I'm still alive. Well, I guess I don't know. So why is she asking me that? Right? But you have to know that that's like water. Like you need it. It's the thing that made you come here. I'm not saying I don't know what the relationship of your biological parents is, but what I'm just knowing was some aspect of love brought you here. And I don't mean in this building, I mean on this planet, right? And some aspect of love brought you into this space too. Because if love is the call, then the answer is for me to go to love. If love is the call, then the answer is for me to be love. If love is the call, then the opportunity is to know the nature of love and be willing to be all in. Like not dip your toe in the water, right? But jump in, right? Not that you have to be crazy and then be like that crazy woman, why she following me, right? Just because love is the substance that is who we are. And if it's not feeling that way and if it's not looking that way, then that means it's time for us to give ourselves some care. It's time to give ourselves some love. And we can't really get it from anyone else if we don't start giving it to ourselves first. You shouldn't even expect it if you're not giving it to yourself. I'm not trying to shoot on you, but I'm saying love attracts love, right? So it's an essence that defies analysis. There's no mathematical equation to try to figure out what love is. You know, you can't like mentally arrive at it as if it were an equation. You either feel it or you don't. It's there, but I can't make you feel it, right? I can prompt it, right? When people smile at me, I remember it. When people reach out to hug me, I remember it. When people do other things that are not like that, I might forget that it's available to me, right? But when we remember that it's an essence, we don't have to think about, is this love or not? Is this love or not, right? And so life itself is an essence. And I'm going to call them two sides of a coin, life and love. For many reasons, one cannot exist without the other. May I have the next slide, please? Only love knows love. And love knows only love. If you are looking for love and finding it far off, the invitation is to first think about the fact that God is love. And God's self-knowingness is the thing that creates everything. God, thinking about its nature of love, brings life into form, brings life into energy, brings life into substance, brings life to every being that is, whether it's flying, swimming, crawling, walking. It's that love that is motivating everything. Now, I can't say I can tell you what's happening in the mind of a cockroach, but I can tell you that that cockroach loves life and it wants to stay alive. If you've seen them scatter, you know what I'm talking about, right? It wants to be, right? And so knowing love on an intimate level and a deeper level is for us to be able to recognize the presence of God. I'm going to invite you just to take a breath in, breathing in love, and let's slowly breathe it out. Now, if you do not feel more relaxed, there's something wrong. Check their pulse. But that's love in action, right? That's the presence of God giving us what we need because it loves us. And love, wanting to reveal itself by any means necessary, is expecting you to be an agent for it, an instrument for it, a way to prove its reality, right? And so the invitation is and will be the love. Namaste. Let's pray. How wonderful it is to know that love lives, to know that love lives in me, to know that love lives in everything that is, to know that love is everywhere that we go, to know that love is in that blade of grass, that it is in that mosquito that wants to live, that love is in that beautiful rose, that elegant giraffe, that humongous rhinoceros, and in the smallest amoeba that there is. And so what I'm knowing is that each one of us has trillions of love cells within us, those that we can count and those that we can't, that are invisible. But the love intelligence that governs the universe created us out of its substance. And so I'm grateful to know that there is no spot where love is not. And so with an abundance of gratitude, I release this word and I let it be, and so it is. Amen. Before we move into our offertory, I'd like for them to bring the prayer box in so that we may also extend this prayer to